Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And we experienced some challenges this morning with Restream. So I'm just going live right here on Facebook. And that's why you don't see my normal background. But I am delighted to be here with you guys, and today's topic is unhealed emotions, and how when we leave when we leave issues unaddressed or don't address them completely, they kind of just this is unhealed wounds. Sorry, but anyway, when we leave these situations unaddressed, what happens is that we are just kind of vulnerable to a moment when they may just resurface, when something gets triggered and those emotions resurface and overtake us, and then leave us in a place where we get the opportunity to address those unhealed wounds and those unhealed emotions yet again. So the thing is that we often don't know that these things, that we have residual trauma around things. And what happens is we get reminded every now and then, right? So I had an occasion to be encountering some unhealed issues around safety that I didn't even know I still had, and got very triggered, and had the opportunity to confront that. And it's looking like we might be having some challenges here on Facebook. I don't know. I've never gone live directly. Hello, Rosalind. I'm seeing your comment, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Good morning. It's great to have you here with us, Rosalind. I'm navigating challenges here that I've never navigated before on Facebook. So bear with me. Anyway, we're talking about how these unhealed emotions and issues can come to the surface when we least expect them. And what do we do about it? One of the things that can, in a moment of crisis, it's hard to step back. It's hard to step back and say, what's going on? Like, how do I calm myself? How do I address this? We have the opportunity to utilize all our skills, typically in these times that we are the least resourceful, right? Like, that's when all of our skills come to the fore, but or come to, are in greatest need, but aren't necessarily that accessible to us. Anyway, in looking back, in these moments when we're super triggered, how do we I think what I'm seeing is that there's a cascade. Okay, so let's say there's something that's unhealed. It gets triggered, and we react, And then there's the cascade of needing um, to correct for whatever our reaction was, unless we were able to be really resourceful. You know, there are degrees. There are degrees. So obviously, when people are stressed, they're not in their most resourceful state, and hopefully we have the presence to be able to um, moderate ourselves in those states while we're trying to address a situation of urgency. And so sometimes there's fallout, right? Like we're in moments of upset, um, and moments of being triggered, we can say and do things that create new triggers, right, for ourselves and other people. And then we have more to heal, not only the original wound, but now it's been exacerbated, right, by further conditions. So, and to varying degrees, you know, depending on how much we've been able to presence ourselves in the course of that interaction. But it's it's my experience that unhealed emotions or unhealed trauma can tend to propagate more trauma. And not only for the person who has experienced the original trauma, but it can magnify out and propagate out. And I see this as I look back on different circumstances in my own life and with other people in my life, to see that traumatized people in, you know, to varying degrees. But until we heal our trauma, what happens is that we tend to propagate it outward. And as this kind of cycle, it just makes it that much more important to heal our trauma as it arises. You know, and the thing is that sometimes we don't even register that something has impacted us to the degree that it has. And that it maintains itself kind of as an underlying persistent influence in our relationships and our awareness. So, you know, for what occurred for me was something around safety, and I hadn't even realized that my sense of safety was so precarious, and it had to do with something that had happened in the past, and there was a trigger that just sort of reignited those fears, and it became for me in that moment something quite visceral. You know, I felt it in my bones. I got to see this whole dynamic around safety and fear for myself, and as a result, it our our internal um, well-being. And so it's like this interesting interface between internal and external. You know, like whatever the external circumstances, we get to moderate our internal experience. However, we can also create circumstances, external circumstances, that support us in our thriving. And so, for instance, with safety, it may be that we can get to a place of consciousness where whatever, you know, like our field and our energy is so pervasive that you know, that the conversation about locking doors, for instance, is a moot conversation. Maybe it's completely unnecessary if we get to a place of pure safety, you know, purely having that. Until we get to that point, ensure our internal safety by locking our doors, for example, or taking certain other precautions. And it may be that that gives us the illusion of safety. That's possible, but it can support us. You know, we can take actions in the world that support us in our own experience. So, Rosalind, I don't know, I saw your hello, and I don't know if there are any, if you've written anything else, but I'm wondering, for any of you who might be listening, have you noticed when an old trauma has gotten triggered, something that you thought you didn't even realize was an issue? And I am of the working hypothesis belief that traumas arise or upsets arise in order to be healed. And when something like this shows up, you know, when we experience being triggered, then we get a new opportunity to transform and grow and heal whatever that thing is that triggered us. So I think I could have probably titled this morning's conversation Safety, because I think that so many of us feel that we're living in scary times. Good morning, Gia. Welcome, welcome. And good morning, Dido. Dido says, I'm experiencing you as cutting in and out. Sorry. No sorry from you, Dido. No need for your apology. I'm getting notification here saying that the frames per second here on Facebook is set too low. And I have no idea how to change the frame rate. So all these technical issues happening because there was a problem with Restream this morning. So anyway, I think because we're having the technical difficulties, I'm just going to end for this morning, end a little early. But the message for today is to be alert when we experience a trauma. Be alert to healing that trauma and taking the precautions necessary to reinforce that healing, like take the actions that need to be taken so that you can rest easier, so that you can be reinforced. So I think we get to revisit this when we have less technical challenges. But I look forward to it. And I'm Mira Rubin. I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, Enlightened World Living, EWN One with the Earth. And until next time, so much love to you. And hopefully next time we will not. So much love. Till next time.